Render therefore to all their due. Taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor.
Hey, Sheri, you want to talk about tariffs?
Absolutely. I think it's something that may not be fully understood, but it's going to come to a head shortly.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Even my husband and I would have little heated conversations around the tariff policies that are being implemented and the debt ceiling. And my husband trades on the market, and he's watching as the tariff conversations continue to escalate the market, doing some nice ebbs and flows, and he believes that it's tariff related, and it probably in some cases is. But when you look at history tells us that tariffs work.
Yes, history does tell us that. And conspiracy? I don't think so, but the markets are also manipulated. So if the beings that are over all of these things don't like tariffs, then what would you do if tariffs are spoken about a lot? Would you tank the market, or would you let it fly? So it just because we saw it with GameStop, it being manipulated, right? So they are manipulated.
I mean, it definitely, I know that was through some Reddit manipulation that got people to go in there and just completely flip that market when they found out what was happening.
And they stopped the ability for the common person to trade. And so they got stuck. Some of them were stuck. They couldn't buy it, or they couldn't sell it at the right time. Shut the market for the people, as opposed to investors, the common people. You'll have to go back and look at that. But it was eye-opening to see that, the markets are being manipulated. So
it really was the first time I've seen it clearly that they were intentionally trying to bankrupt GameStop.
There was a lot of things going on at that time. There was other stocks too that there were things going on with as well. So, but just know that the markets may not be a great indicator.
Right?
Are we happy about it? Yeah, not always. We invest also, so it's kind of and my husband will tell you it's being manipulated. So it's worrisome. It really is. So, but that's not what we're going to talk about today.
No.
We want to talk about tariffs, because tariffs could be a huge answer, and anything that President Trump says something good about is going to be made bad, right? So, what do we know about tariffs? We know April 2nd, President Trump has been saying April 2nd. April 2nd is the day where the other countries have to decide, are you going to be on board with us having equal tariffs back and forth, or are we coming up to your tariff? Because if you're tariffing us at 15 and we're tariffing you at 5, that's not fair. So we're going to go up to 15 if you're not going to work with us.
Exactly.
So basically, that's what it's saying. But I don't know if you want to pull up. If you can pull up that one graph I sent you on tariffs and how it might come out clearer. If you can bring it up, that would be cool. Yeah, there's a couple. Anyway, it shows really nicely where we had tariffs, and then that's it. The numbers are still really small at the bottom, but it's showing a timeline of the revenue, right? So where we were funded fully by tariffs, and that's the yellow. And then I believe that's the yellow, because I can't fully read it on your screen either. And then red is when the income tax came in, and that was right around, I think it was 1916 when I looked at it. but look how the income tax came in. And the gray is payroll tax. So you can see where taxes really came in, and, you know, it was working fine without those taxes before that.
Yeah.
It
And
was working just fine.
So in the year, and this is easy information to find, we'll get a link to an actual document you can go easily read, but the year that we started the income tax was 1916, you said?
I think that's about where it was. It is hard to read if you blow it up.
20th century, early 20th century. And trying to blow it up doesn't work because it just makes it even grainier.
It's showing, I think it started 1912, but it's like just barely starting. You can see where the tail is off to the left.
Yeah.
But it really got rocking and rolling somewhere around 2017. That's when it started to shoot up. So
you mean 1917?
Yeah. I'm sorry, 1917. Yeah. You can see where it really started shooting up there. The yellow is above it. That's where it really started shooting up.
Yeah. And so what's really fascinating to me is the payroll tax. Like, it's so high. It's just nuts. It's just nuts.
And then we're paying taxes too, and we're paying property taxes, and we're paying all these different taxes, and that didn't used to be. It used to be that it all came from tariffs, and that ran the country just fine. So, you know, I think President Trump is trying to get back to a situation like that. And yes, it might be, you know, a little bumpy and rocky along the way, because there's got to be a time for the shift to happen. But I think when it happens, I think it's going to be pretty phenomenal, because we have that the debt clock also that shows this. It's got a lot of really great information on it.
So this is the debt clock.
It's a really cool thing to see. Some of it might be depressing, but I think there's some really high hopes there for what it could do.
Yeah.
You know, as far as it's keeping track of different numbers that I think could be very positive. And you can see it there. You can see a couple different numbers. You can see the national debt going up like crazy, right?
And so if you go to this website, I just want to point this out really quickly. If you go to this website and you click on or you hover over any of these numbers, it will tell you up here in the top. I can't go to it right here in this block where it says US debt clock. It will tell you where it's pulling this source information from. So you can actually go look it up yourself and confirm and verify it. So go ahead. What did you want to
Yeah, so the future tariff tax revenue is over there. Yeah, right there. And I mean, it's future, but that's what they're predicting. And it does say where that information is coming from. So it's not just pie in the sky made up. But I mean, it could put a serious debt on, or, you know, take away a good chunk of the national debt. And then to the left, you've got also the Doge clock that's climbing and climbing and climbing. And then it's showing, you know, the savings per taxpayer. Right now, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but I don't think what Doge has done so far has actually been realized. Like, all of the things that they're finding, I don't think have actually been removed yet. They're just showing, you know, what's happening. And then I think there will be decisions made on, you know, shutting some of those things down, like the Department of Education that just got shut down. You know, that was a chunk. So, you know, these are the things that, you know, I don't know what that 2000 represents, but put a thing over the top of it, maybe and see what it says.
The Department of Government Efficiency Advisory Commission, the real-time savings objective from reducing government waste, fraud, and abuse in federal government agencies. So this is just what their numbers are being projected to be. It does not say where they're getting that information, but my assumption is they're getting it just from what Doge has on their website.
Yeah, and potentially what's already been implemented, as far as not just what they found. It would be cool if they actually showed what had been implemented.
Yeah.
What things have actually come into play that, I mean, I didn't see it on there, and it could be on there somewhere. But so these are some things that are actually going to help reduce our national debt.
Right.
And I would not be a bit surprised if our president, who loves to negotiate, doesn't negotiate with some of the countries that we owe money to, and I'm putting air quotes around that, because what did we promise, along the way?
Yeah.
That maybe was a bad deal. So, and they know it.
Yeah. So this is also quite interesting. Here's our border encounters last year versus this year, which is a 93% decrease. Saving, I mean, there's so much information on this page. It looks overwhelming because there's so many numbers. It looks like you're in Vegas watching the slot machine tickers, but there's so much really good information. I think this is fascinating. Our US debt, our debt in 1960 was 53%. In 80, it was 34%. In 2000, it was 58%. And now it's 122% debt to GDP ratio. That is insane.
That is insane.
So we'll certainly put a link to that in the show notes so that you can go access it yourself and play around with it. I encourage you to do so because it is so fascinating.
It really is. And enjoy looking at it and it's changing, like you can see by the second.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad.
Yep.
But yeah.
We're going to have so many clickable links for you to go learn more about tariffs and including some of the history behind them, why they started, why they stopped. We're also going to include some information on, and this is where it gets really legalistic and harder to read, but we found a website where you can actually access every tariff agreement between the US and other countries, although I didn't see one for China yet, but I haven't finished digging. And so you can actually go pull up those tariff agreements. It's really fascinating. This particular website is dated from 1988 to 2022. And the couple of agreements that we've gone through so far were altered and signed during both Bush administrations. So it's important to see that, and this was to lower tariffs. This was to bring more tax dollars onto the burden of the US citizen. So I want you to just think about that. Everybody always thinks that Republicans are all about spending US dollars, and that is absolutely untrue. And these two documents that we found are proof in the pudding that that is not true. Republicans are not warmongers. They are not about spending US tax dollars. They are about, or saving US taxpayers. They are about money and how do we get more of it in our pockets.
Yeah. And I think it also goes to show that there's a uniparty going on. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. There's a uniparty, meaning that both sides are really on the same side. Yeah. And it's not all of them, but it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So, and there's things that are tying them to make these decisions.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, conspiracy is that, you can go into politics with all of the best intentions that you are going to stick to your guns and hold to your values. But once you get into that very maniacal beast, you either succumb or you get ousted. I mean, it's pretty much either or. Why Trump was able to overcome that beast and beat it back, we'll see. I mean, he's definitely made huge strides in the economy in his first term and this one already that show that he's not willing to bow down to whatever political monster everybody else seems to want to bow down to, which I think is giving some strength and backbone to some of the other more conservative people who are in office, such as Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson so far has not abandoned his Christian values and he's stood strong,
Yeah.
which has been, impressive, but we see a lot more faith-based people coming forward from
Mhm.
the political spectrum. And I'm not trying to jump off the tariffs, but I'm just making a point that there's something about the Trump administration that is helping people speak louder in their own values instead of just being part of the political spectrum in the White
Yeah,
House.
I agree. And I think that it didn't start in the beginning, but it's starting to get a lot louder and a lot louder from our side because we're starting to realize, and I think we've already realized, that we are the majority. Obviously, we got him back in office by a large majority. And with what you just said about, people coming into the Senate and Congress and being manipulated, maybe that's why Trump has been so successful, because he went right to the top and he didn't have to work his way up through all of that. And with the potentials of being manipulated and being removed, he got to the people, to all the people, and he started speaking common sense and logic. And a lot of people were like, what? That's so not political.
Yeah.
And they finally got on board with it, to be like, yeah, that is probably what we really need. Because I know that's what I got on board really pretty quickly, but my husband was like, I don't know. And he's like, but he's just speaking common sense. And I'm like,
He was. I mean, granted, sometimes when he speaks, especially in his first campaign, it was like, is this guy really a billionaire college graduate with some of the things? I mean, come on. Why is bigly his big word? But yeah, he definitely proved himself in his first term.
yeah, having gone to Wharton Business. Yeah. But also, who did he work with? He worked with the common people on construction sites. He had to speak to the common people, and he could relate to the common people, and they could relate to him.
Yeah. And
Because
what's
if
so
you just come
interesting,
in as a billionaire, it's like,
right. And what's so interesting to me about that is, the elites try and trash him and talk bad about him, how he doesn't care about the common people, but he does. And so that bringing us right back to the tariffs, he knows what will make this country and the people living in it and the citizens of this country wealthy again. And if you pay attention to when the tariffs were ended, or not ended, but when we started looking at taxes as being part of the revenue source of this country, it was post World War I, pre World War II. And then I'm just going to look at this one more time. Yeah, you can't see the chart, but it looks like, and I know this to be fact, post World War II is when we started doing property taxes, credit lines to buy homes. Before that, people paid cash for their homes. If you didn't have the money, you didn't have the house. I mean, that's just how that worked. And post World War II is when we really started to see taxes and inflation become a huge thing. And I understand that World War II, not only World War II, but the economic crash, the stock market crash in 29 were both very big turning points. But had we not implemented such insane taxes at that point, and we had just rebuilt our country through tariffs, which, the US is always trying to save other countries, especially when there's a Democrat in office. So I know that there's a reason that we backed off of tariffs during the rebuild of the world after World War II, but it devastated our country, and the aftermath is what we're looking at today, where we are on the verge of bankruptcy.
well, and if you take a look at that chart again, and you see tariffs are up here, property taxes are up, and also, what was it, our income taxes? Is that what the three were?
It is
Yeah,
income
tax and
payroll.
tax, sorry. Income and
Yeah.
payroll tax. And we got property taxes going on too. That's more local. But look at all the money look at all the money. Where did it all go? And we have such a huge debt. Does that make sense? Where is all of our money actually going? And I think that's part of it is Doja's finding that out, right? But that's a lot of money, and it's going off to a whole bunch of different countries, which I have a chart for that too, that I think we've shown previously on how much we give to other countries, how much we're obligated, and that's air quotes around that, to give to other countries. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it is ridiculous. Yeah. So, those are the things that I would imagine also is going to be negotiated by President Trump if it hasn't already been happening, behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff going on, not just here, but behind the scenes. So I don't know. Do you have that one chart? And I don't know if you want to bring it up or not. I can actually look at it and read it if not. The one that shows the countries that are starting to toe the line on tariffs, because it's phenomenal.
The World Integrated Trade Solution, you mean?
The link, tariffs work, the one that Donald Trump posted.
Oh, no, I don't have
that. Has U.S. investment pledges. It's the X post. But
yes, I do have that.
Yeah. So it's other countries and companies are starting to toe the line on the tariffs, and because of April 2nd. And I love that he wanted to make it April 1st, but he decided not to.
That was a smart move on his part.
That's pretty funny. What's that?
I said that was a smart move on his part, I gotta say.
Anyway, so there's and you'll get it up. There we go. Yeah. So I don't know if you can make it a little bit bigger.
Let me see. There we go.
There you go. That's awesome. So look at this is the first. These numbers. The first one is UAE, and that's 1.4 trillion that they're going to bring back into the country. They're going to make an invest. These are the invested pledges to the U.S. By the United Arab Emirates, I think is what UAE stands for, and then Saudi Arabia, 600 billion. Hyundai, 20 billion.
I saw another post. They're actually committed to building this $20 billion plant in Louisiana.
I know Honda is going to bring in a plant into the U.S. too. I think they already have one, but I think they're bringing in another one. So what's the point of all these things? Really, it's to get more jobs in the U.S. More work to be able for the people to do here, and bring the money here instead of bringing in the products like Apple. That's amazing that Apple's going to start being produced here. 500 billion. So, and good or bad, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, and Merck, those are all pharmaceuticals, but they've been being created in China. I mean, that's scary if you ask me. Yeah. That our pharmaceuticals that our people are taking, that honestly are being poisoned by, are being created in China. Yeah. So I'm glad some of these things are coming back, that we may have a little bit more control over them and what they're actually providing to us.
And just to do some clarifying here, people are so afraid. And one of the big pushes that the left legacy media and politicians are talking about is how Americans are never going to be able to afford this stuff, how our products prices are going to go up, how we are going to see a bigger inflation than we saw under Biden. And the reality is, for me personally, when Walmart committed to bringing whatever it was at the time, because this was about 10 years or so ago, 300 and something million American made products back onto their shelves they committed to purchasing $350 something million worth of American products every year to start bringing some economic growth back into our country and stop putting so many Chinese made things on their shelf. You best better believe I had been boycotting Walmart forever because they'd gone to so many cheap foreign made products. And now I will shop there faster than I'll go to Target or anywhere else. And it's because they committed to the US. So the 80 plus million people that voted for Trump are going to embrace this. They're going to embrace the fact that we are bringing jobs back to the US. They're going to embrace the fact that we are looking at saving so much more money in our economy. And it will right itself as we start implementing these tariffs. The prices will go back down. It's just going to take a minute. We are going to see pain in the growth. It always happens.
Oh, yeah, I think we will. Yeah. But I mean, we're already seeing changes happening, like egg prices are coming down. Gas, I don't know about you, but the gas here has dumped under $3 a gallon.
It just paid $5.50 a gallon 2 days ago.
Yikes. Yeah. Here in Florida.
Welcome to California.
Yeah. Here in Florida, it has gone under $3. Because the first time I saw it was this past weekend. It was like $3.98, and we've seen it lower than that. Yeah. I think in the 80s. So it's happening. Grocery prices are coming down. I don't have all the stats, but compared to what they were under Biden, they have come down. Mm-hmm. So I mean, maybe we can find that and show you a comparison or a link to that. We'll see. But
I did see a chart that showed that inflation has even come down 2%.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Trump is now calling for the interest rate to be lowered.
Yeah.
And there's talk that will happen a few times, mm-hmm. at least a couple times throughout the year. And I think it probably maybe more than that.
I'd love to be able to buy a house.
There you go. I know. Anything. The interest rates have gone up on everything, cars, everything. But it's, the other thing you were talking about, being able to buy a car and taking loans and whatnot. Think about when they brought in credit cards. That was really detrimental to people. It tied them to debt.
Well, and I think it backfired and still continues to backfire because people take out credit cards that they can't afford. They completely max them out and then they don't pay them. And so who eats that? The banks eat it. So what ends up happening? Our interest rates go up, our taxes get higher because they have to pay that debt off somehow. And it's the person who steps away, who cares about bad credit? That'll be fixed in 7 years. I mean, it's not a good decision unless someone knows how to deal with debt. But then you look at our education system. Do they teach you how to manage your money in public school? Absolutely not. So kids get out of school.
Not even to balance a checkbook. College. I mean, what is that?
What? Oh, a checkbook?
Yeah. They don't use checkbooks.
This lady bought from me on Saturday, and she bought with me through Venmo and then went and wrote it in her checkbook. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a balanced checkbook in years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've noticed that with my kids. There's no, I mean, the theory was if you had checks, you had money. At one point I was like, what? What? And that's like, well, if you have a credit card, you have money unless you hit the ceiling, and then, you can ask for more. But
that's the problem. Our school system, our public school system should be educating kids on how to do that. Home economics was eradicated from school when I took a home ec class in junior high and high school, but I graduated in the 90s and I know it was gone by the time I left school.
Yeah. And I took shop and home ec, and
shop was gone by the time I got into high school.
Oh, I loved it.
I know. So, I remember when they had auto mechanics. When I was in junior high, they still had auto class in high schools, and you go get greasy and gross and work on machines or work on engines. And I mean, but that's also the time when they started pushing college, right? College was the key. If you didn't go to college, you were never going to make money, be successful, have a good, solid career. Yeah. Everybody needed to be white collar. And there again, we have the other part of our economic downfall. school loans. And then you get an idiot like Biden in office who's like, we're going to forgive all these school loans. What? And pay for them how?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you saw how we're going to pay for them. So
Yeah, I know. But the
taxes.
point being, like, it's almost as if the people who are in office right now did not take any kind of money classes either. They have no economic.
No, because you can just print more. It's the same idea as the checkbook. If you got checks, you can just write a check.
Right.
It's the same thing at the national level. You can just, print more money, which they do. And I haven't seen the part where has Trump gone to see if the gold is still there at the Federal Reserve?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been paying
Well,
attention.
he's talking about taking a field trip there to make sure the gold is still there.
Well, they were dumping gold bars off the side of a boat, quite literally. So,
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Biden was having that happen.
Mhm.
That's not a joke.
No, that's real.
What he said.
Quite real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't know who auto-penned that, but it's anyway. Yeah. So I think there's, really with the tariffs, there's a lot of hope there that it's going to, not fix things overnight, but it is going to fix, a lot of this. And I know that, Trump has talked about removing taxes in a lot of areas. And I think that, we saw tariffs worked before, and taxes could possibly go away in a lot of areas. And I mean, he's already talking about it in a few. So Social Security.
Amazing. He's just got to,
tips.
yeah. He's on a limited amount of time, and hopefully JD Vance has the same vision, and he's follows Trump's administration this year, because we definitely need to keep conservatives in office for an extended period of time so we can get this country running as a well-oiled machine again. If a Democrat gets back in office after Trump's administration, all I can say is please just pay attention. Don't put your head in the sand. Pay attention to what's happening to our economy, because that's going to be what pushes you to vote in 3 years when we have our next election.
Well, 2 years is very important.
2 years is very important.
We've got to keep what we have and build on what we have to make sure that we get the things in place that are needed for this country to thrive.
And it's also important to remember executive orders can be changed with a pen. That's exactly what Trump did. It's what Biden did when he got in office. So a lot of these things are going to have to be written into law in order for them to be upheld after because it will happen, another Democrat president gets in office. If we don't have them changed into law, then the next Democrat president can come in and just with a pen change everything. So it is important in the next election, which we'll talk a lot about next year, to make sure that we keep our Senate and House majority conservative. I won't say Republican. You need to vote for a candidate who's going to vote your values, not somebody who says, I'm conservative, I'm Republican. You got to pay attention.
Yeah, you got to pay big attention, because I know in Florida we're experiencing that. Yeah. A Republican.
Yeah. I will say in California, if they run on a Republican ticket, they're Republican.
That's good. I'm glad there's still some left over there.
Well, you can't run with an R by your name and actually get away with it here unless you're truly Republican. They'll eat you alive.
Good. Yeah. Here we just believe it. It's obvious. There's some really shady stuff going on. So in Florida, we're not so free and fair. So.
Well, we are going to have so many show notes, so many clickable links for you. Please go take a look at all of them. And feel free to let us know if you have some other tariff information that we missed. Drop us a link, drop us a line, send us an email, let us know.
Yeah, we could have talked on and on about it because there's so much information out there.
Oh my gosh.
We started searching for it. So yeah, find some good stuff, let us know. And if there's something else you want us to talk about, let us know that too, because we're happy to bring it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with everyone that you know and love. And always look up whenever you feel down, because God's got his eye on all of it. All right. Don't forget to stay tuned for the funny comic relief at the end of this video, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.